In the kitchen, where morning sunlight streamed through the window, I tugged down the sleeve of my long-sleeved shirt a little further. This unconscious gesture has been part of my routine for 7 years now, a small habit to hide the burn scars on my left arm. But these days, it's just become part of my daily life. "Mommy, look." My 5-year-old son Jacob pointed to his new drawing placed next to his breakfast pancakes. The picture, drawn during his favorite playtime at kindergarten, showed our family of 3 holding hands. The sky was blue, the sun was smiling, and the lawn in front of our house was colored in vibrant green. "That's beautiful, Jacob," I said, gently stroking his soft hair. Our home is in a quiet residential area in the suburbs of Dallas, Texas. The streets are well maintained, and the neighbors' lawns are meticulously kept. The 2-story White House was purchased in David's 7th year as a sales manager at a real estate development company. He's a kind and understanding husband who values our family above all else. Though we barely see each other on weekdays, he leaves early and returns late. I understand it's necessary to support our lifestyle. On weekends, he always makes time for us, taking family trips to the park or having barbecues. When I see his smile during these times, I feel that normal life I chose 7 years ago wasn't a mistake. 7 years ago, I was seeking a new life, trying to escape my past in New York. When I met David at a mutual friend's house party, I felt my heart healing through his sincere personality. I told him I used to work as an office worker. That wasn't a lie. But I haven't told anyone everything about my past yet. Those memories remain sealed deep in my heart, about that day, and the reason for these scars on my arm. This was my choice, a normal life, ordinary happiness. Even while carrying my past, I'm grateful for each new morning. I still remember Elizabeth's expression when David and I decided to get married. I sensed something cold beneath her superficial smile. That hasn't changed. She's a well-regarded figure who has volunteered with the local animal protection organization for over 20 years. She always plays a central role in community meetings and actively participates in charitable activities. But whenever she visits our house, her perfectionist nature becomes apparent. From how to organize the kitchen to how to clean the living room, her criticisms are endless. We especially clash over Jacob's upbringing, every single time. "Ashley, this food is too bland. If you spoil Jacob like this, he'll have problems in the future. David, you need to be more firm." Such words are thrown at us like casual greetings. David is strongly influenced by his mother's words. I can feel him caught between his mother and me. But he never shows it openly. He just holds me a little tighter when we lay our heads on our pillows at night. I understand that's his way of apologizing and expressing his love. Jacob is particularly afraid of large dogs. He's been scared of them ever since a big neighborhood dog barked at him when he was little. I understand his feelings and encourage him to get used to them gradually. We sometimes visit the zoo or small pet shops, starting with smaller animals and working our way up to larger ones. But Elizabeth is different. Her thinking is always rigid and unforgiving. It's pathetic for a boy to be afraid of dogs. David could play with any animal when he was little. If you raise him like this, he'll have problems in the future. Jacob shrinks at his grandmother's words. Each time, I hug him and whisper, "It's not shameful to be afraid." But even those words become targets for Elizabeth's criticism. In her eyes, everything about my parenting seems wrong. We have a small vegetable garden in our backyard. On weekends, I tend to the vegetables with my son. While touching the soil, Jacob slowly regains his confidence. Jacob, who loves to draw, captures the growth of these vegetables in his pictures: the bright red tomatoes, the vivid green cucumbers, the yellow blossoms of the zucchini. Our refrigerator is covered with his drawings. Elizabeth calls it cluttered, but to me, they're precious records of my son's growth, my most treasured possessions. On a mild spring day, I gaze out the kitchen window into the garden. The life I chose 7 years ago was indeed my ideal, normal life. Making breakfast, taking care of my son, waiting for my husband to return home. Such ordinary days mean everything to me. While still carrying a past I can't tell anyone about, I must continue to protect my family. That is my mission, and my happiness. Outside the window, maple trees sway in the spring breeze. Their young leaves sparkle in the light, announcing the beginning of a new season. One morning, in the soft spring sunlight streaming through the window, I was preparing breakfast with Jacob in the kitchen. The scent of maple syrup filled the room as pancake batter slowly rose on the griddle. On the white plates from the cupboard, I arranged blueberries in a smiling face pattern, as always, our morning ritual that Jacob loves. "Mommy, what's for dessert in my lunch today?" Jacob asked, hugging my waist. His small body in checkered pajamas should have been getting in the way of my kitchen work, but this gesture always warms my heart. "Well." As I answered, opening the refrigerator, I saw the chocolate chip cookies we'd baked yesterday lined up inside. We had made them together over the weekend. I can still picture his serious expression as he tried to shape the cookies perfectly, despite being covered in flour. David left earlier than usual this morning. He had an important business meeting. Dressed in his navy suit, looking more tense than usual, he said, "I'll be late tonight." "Sorry," and gently patted the still sleepy Jacob's head before leaving. When I saw him off at the door, his back seemed a little smaller than usual. While going through my morning routine, I found myself checking the sleeves of my long-sleeved shirt repeatedly. This might be more of an obsession than a habit. I unconsciously make sure the scars on my left arm are hidden. In the backyard visible through the kitchen window, the vegetables, moistened by yesterday's rain, were gleaming with fresh greenness. Just as I was about to start getting Jacob ready for kindergarten after breakfast, the phone rang. I dried my hands from washing dishes and checked the display to see a familiar name. Elizabeth. I hesitated for a moment before answering my mother-in-law's call. "Good morning, Ashley. I'm thinking of stopping by today." I was momentarily lost for words at this sudden announcement. Her typically forceful voice came through the receiver. "Actually, I have a dog I've been fostering for 2 weeks. I'd like you to see how the training is going." I could hear her usual pushiness in her voice. Or was it my imagination that I detected something different in her tone today? "But Elizabeth, I have to take Jacob to and from kindergarten today." My excuse-like protest was immediately cut off. "It's fine. I'll come before noon. We'll finish before you need to pick up Jacob." Her way of leaving no room for refusal was typical. But there seemed to be an unusual level of fixation in her voice today. In the end, I had to agree. After hanging up, an inexplicable anxiety crossed my mind. Though this was nothing unusual, today felt especially unsettling. As if to shake off these feelings, I adjusted the sleeves of my long-sleeved shirt. Outside the window, the trees swaying in the spring breeze seemed to cast ominous shadows on the ground. After dropping Jacob off at kindergarten and finishing the house cleaning, the intercom rang. Looking at the clock, it was 11:30. My steps toward the front door felt a bit heavier than usual. When I opened the door, there stood Elizabeth. Her pastel pink two-piece suit was her typical proper attire. And beside her, my eyes widened. There was a pit bull, larger than I had imagined, secured with a strong collar. Its muscular build and sharp gaze created an overwhelming presence. An unmistakable tension emanated from the dog's body. "What do you think? Impressive, isn't he?" Elizabeth said proudly, gazing at the dog. There was an unnatural excitement in her voice. "Well, come in." I carefully chose my words as I guided them to the living room. Or rather, Elizabeth had already entered with the dog before I could finish. Her footsteps seemed to echo louder than usual. "I found this one at the shelter. He was very guarded at first, but now he's become so obedient," Elizabeth continued proudly. But I could see an unusual tension in the dog's eyes. Its restless gaze around the room seemed to be waiting for some signal. As time passed and Jacob's pickup time approached, the living room clock seemed to move unusually slowly. Just as I was about to say, "It's time," I heard the front door open. "Mommy, I'm home." The usual cheerful voice. But it froze the moment he entered the living room. Jacob coming home by himself. My heart leaped. I just remembered, today had a different schedule because of field trip preparations. My son stood frozen in place. I could see his small body begin to tremble as he spotted the large pit bull. His picture book bag was rattling audibly. "Mommy, I'm scared." Jacob's trembling voice called out to me for help. Large tears welled up in his eyes. Just as I was about to stand up. Crying over a dog. How pathetic. Elizabeth's cold voice echoed through the room. Her expression showed clear contempt. Her eyes were like those of a predatory bird eyeing its prey. "Elizabeth, stop." My voice was trembling too. An alarm was ringing in my mind. But my mother-in-law wouldn't listen. "Raising such a coward, your parenting is a failure." As she said this, Elizabeth deliberately reached for the pit bull's collar. There was a coldness in her eyes I'd never seen before, as if years of hatred had suddenly surfaced. And in the next moment, before my scream could reach them, Elizabeth removed the collar. The pit bull, the moment it was released, took a step toward Jacob. There was clear intent in its movement. At that moment, Elizabeth's expression changed. Her smile vanished, and her face turned pale. As if she had just realized the gravity of what she'd done. Or as if she had seen something unexpected. In that instant, something switched on inside me. The memories I had sealed away for 7 years rushed through my body all at once. The training in New York. The time spent with countless dogs. And that day of flames and screams. Everything came back vividly. The touch of my hands, the smell in the air, and the cryptic command words that still echoed in my ears. My vision suddenly sharpened. The old training took over my body as if it were yesterday. At that moment, I was no longer Ashley the housewife. Halt! Down! My voice rang through the room, sharp and unlike anything they'd heard before. Nothing like the gentle voice I usually used with Jacob. The pit bull's movement stopped for a moment at that voice. Its muscular body tensed, showing a moment's hesitation in its aggressive stance. I followed with an even stronger command, specialized instruction words. Words that would only work on dogs trained for this kind of aggressive conditioning. Commands like secret codes unknown to normally trained dogs. Code Red, neutralize. The pit bull's body tensed for a moment, then surprisingly obediently took a submissive position. The aggression had vanished from its eyes. Its tail touched the ground, showing complete surrender. This response was clear evidence of specialized training. In the confusion, the sleeve of my left arm had rolled up. Deep burn scars snaked along my arm like a winding river, the price I paid trying to rescue my partner dog from a collapsing building that day. The reddish scars remained vivid even after 7 years, etching that day's memories into my flesh. The blood drained from Elizabeth's face. Her wandering eyes were fixed on this unfamiliar version of me that had suddenly appeared. Could it be? Her eyes darted between the scars on my arm and the perfectly controlled dog. Her expression mixed confusion at an unexpected situation with the fear of something crumbling away. Yes, I was a K-9 unit trainer. My quiet voice carried the dignity of my former profession. No need to hide anymore. This is the real me. The other self I had sealed away for 7 years. Elizabeth frantically tried to grab her cell phone, but it slipped from her trembling hands. The screen of the device lit up as it hit the floor with a loud clatter. A video was playing on the screen. My heart froze at what was displayed. Multiple pit bulls receiving specialized training in a dimly lit place. My eyes immediately recognized the methods. This wasn't normal training. It was a record of calculated, cruel training designed to maximize aggression. The date and location were recorded at the edge of the screen. Footage from just a week ago. Location: an abandoned building in the suburbs. Everything had been planned. This pit bull, it's no rescue dog, is it? I quietly approached the dog and checked its neck. There were traces of specialized training equipment. To a professional eye, the evidence was clear. The regular scarring was unmistakably from illegal training devices. Picking up the fallen phone, I found several similar videos saved in the gallery. Dates, locations, even the tools used, everything was meticulously recorded. Evidence of calculated preparation. And all of it had targeted my son. With each scroll through the screen, my anger deepened. Why go this far? At my question, Elizabeth's expression twisted. Her eyes no longer showed any sign of reason. For my son. David should have been raised stronger. Her voice was hollow, as if echoing from a distant past. It mixed twisted obsession with madness. True, David was too kind. Too obedient to what I said. But that. Her eyes seemed to look at something far away each time her words trailed off. So you decided to hurt your grandson the same way? My voice shook. I couldn't tell if it was anger or sadness welling up inside me. Behind me, Jacob was still trembling slightly. That trembling strengthened my resolve even more. Rather than being raised by a weak person, Elizabeth's eyes became fixed. She no longer resembled the mother-in-law we knew. It was as if a long-worn mask had fallen away, revealing someone else entirely. You stole David. My precious son. Her voice dripped with obsession and hatred she had harbored for years. Each word was filled with twisted love and desire for control. You ruined all my perfect education. Kindness is nothing but weakness. Strength is the only way to survive in this world. Elizabeth spoke as if spitting out the words. Her appearance was pitiful enough to evoke sympathy. Just then, sounds came from outside the window. Neighbors were beginning to gather, drawn by the dog's commotion. Worried voices, camera phone flashes. I took out my phone and dialed 911 without hesitation. The moment Elizabeth moved toward the door, Jacob hid firmly behind me. I could feel his small body trembling against my back. But the trembling was gradually subsiding. Perhaps my son had sensed the strength within me. Don't move. My voice had regained the authority from my training days. It was both a command and a warning. 20 years of animal protection activities. What were you plotting behind your mask of a well-regarded citizen? While maintaining a public face, behind the scenes, such cruel training. Elizabeth's expression twisted further at my questioning. David is my son. I raised him, my. Her words broke off as tears began flowing from her eyes. At the end of madness born from possessiveness and obsession, she stood frozen. The sound of sirens could be heard in the distance. The voices of neighbors grew louder around the house. There was no escape now. All truth was about to be exposed to the light of day. It's okay now, Jacob. I spoke gently to my son behind me. Mommy will protect you. No one will hurt you anymore. At these words, I felt my son's trembling gradually subside. At that moment, I felt years of burden slowly lifting. No need to hide anymore. My past, these scars on my arm, everything would become strength to protect my son. The memories I had sealed away for 7 years were beginning to take on new meaning. The police sirens drew closer. Elizabeth slowly collapsed onto the sofa, as if finally understanding everything. It was the moment when the perfect mask she had maintained for years shattered completely. Spring sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the pit bull now lying quietly. While this incident was drawing to a close, a new chapter for our family was about to begin. The time had finally come to tell the truth. Police cars arrived one after another. The first officers on the scene quickly assessed the situation. Here's the evidence phone, I said as I handed over the device. The videos have dates and locations recorded. They're evidence of illegal training. Elizabeth remained silent, staring ahead with empty eyes. She only let out a slight sigh when the officer handcuffed her. The mask of the perfect, upstanding citizen had crumbled completely. Neighbors began offering their testimonies one after another. We've been hearing dogs barking late at night recently. I saw suspicious activity at that abandoned building. Her behavior at the Animal Protection Organization had been strange lately. As the investigation progressed, more shocking facts came to light. During her 20 years of work with the Animal Protection Organization, there had been numerous suspicious incidents: missing dogs, unnaturally injured animals, and multiple buried accusations. The trial began 2 weeks later. The court will now deliver its verdict for the defendant, Elizabeth Carter. I held David's hand tightly as the judge's voice echoed through the courtroom. For the crimes of animal cruelty, attempted assault, and related charges, I sentence you to 5 years in prison. Elizabeth never looked our way, not even once. Just before boarding the transport vehicle, she finally choked out a word. "I'm sorry." Those words were tinged with regret. That night, when I heard the front door open, my heart leaped. "I'm home." David's voice was heavy with deep fatigue. "Welcome home." My voice trembled too. I quietly sat down next to David on the living room sofa. "Tell me everything." His voice was gentle, but his eyes held deep sadness. I began to talk about my days as a K-9 trainer in New York, the rescue operations during 9/11, the burns I got trying to save my partner dog from a collapsing building, and how I sought a normal life to escape that trauma. "I'm sorry for hiding it." Tears spilled from my eyes. "But when I met you, I learned what true happiness was. These 7 years were never a lie." David remained silent for a long time. Then, slowly, he took my left arm and rolled up the sleeve. His fingers traced the burn scars gently. "You had a past you couldn't tell even me." His voice trembled. "And about Mom. I'm sorry. I should have noticed. It's not your fault." I shook my head firmly. "Elizabeth was just drowning in her twisted love for you. Mom, she'll be entering a rehabilitation program in prison." David quietly informed me. "She'll be learning how to interact with animals from scratch." "I see." We shared a long silence. "But we can never go back to a normal relationship with Mother." David's voice carried strong determination. "I'll protect our family. Even after she's released, we'll keep our distance." That night, we talked until dawn. About the past, the present, and the future. Feelings we couldn't put into words gradually took shape. "Hey, David." I spoke up just before dawn. "That pit bull. I want to take care of him." He looked surprised but soon showed a gentle smile. "What about Jacob? Will he be okay?" "With time. I'm sure he will," I said, gazing out the window. "That dog has a wounded soul too. We have a duty to heal him." A few months later, on a holiday, there was an unprecedented peace in our backyard. "Mommy, look. Max did it. He gave me his paw." Jacob's voice was full of excitement. Max, the pit bull who had completed rehabilitation, sat in front of him, wagging his tail. I had started training rescued dogs again. This time, to help traumatized dogs recover through love. On weekends, David and Jacob helped too. Sometimes, letters arrive from Elizabeth. Her days in the rehabilitation program, her feelings of regret, and her determination to make amends. David reads them silently and quietly puts them away. The wounds haven't healed yet. But we'll have to gradually accept that as part of our history. Dad, can I take Max for a walk? Of course. But remember what Mom taught you. David answered while patting his son's head. I know, I can do it right. Right, Max? My eyes welled up watching Jacob talk to the dog. Fear gradually transformed into trust. Wounded hearts heal with love. This applies to both dogs and humans. Mom. Jacob, finished playing, pointed to the scars on my arm. These are like a hero's medals, aren't they? My eyes met David's. His eyes were moist with tears too. Yes. I answered, hugging my son. These are proof that I protected precious lives. The family's laughter echoes in the twilight garden. Max seems to be smiling too. In everyone's eyes now, he's no longer a dangerous dog. Just a precious member of our family. The spring breeze blows through, announcing the arrival of a new season. Our story of accepting the past and looking toward the future begins again from here. Both Elizabeth's rehabilitation and our healing will surely be a long journey. But we had the courage to take that first step.